Hey people, Jack here with Edmonton Cash Cows. I'm here with researchers from the University of Alberta today on Argyle Road and 79th Street, where there's a pilot project getting started to catch people distracted driving. As you guys are all aware, I'm against automated traffic enforcement 100%. However, as you're also aware, I was T-boned by a distracted driver back in 2017 with my wife and my child in the car. Both my wife and I were hospitalized. She had to have reconstructive surgery. I have a permanently back injury now, and luckily my son walked away. But anyway, people, here's what we have. This machine here is going to collect data. It can pierce through your vehicle to show if you're using your cell phone or distracted driving or not. So this is a pilot project being done by the University of Alberta, which goes into effect today, and they will be collecting data. No tickets will be given, but they'll be collecting data for the next couple of weeks. So here it is, people. Do yourselves a favor. Stay off your cell phones.
Detected by the AI are positive collections of data and information that are then reviewed by a human, and then the human positive detections are sent through for collection of evidence and for information related to data collection.
So physically, how does it work? Does it take a picture? Does it see through the lens?
It's a radar-based system. We have a number of different sensors. There's 4 different cameras that collect evidence and information. And when I say evidence, it's information related to an event. We're looking at 4 different distinct angles down into the windshield of the vehicle, behind the dash. We've got a shallow camera that looks at the phone-to-ear event, and then we'd have a color context camera and then a plate camera to identify those vehicles. The information that's fed to the AI is based on the driver images inside the cab. There's a 2-chain AI process that is evaluated of each camera image. It's evaluated through the AI to find the driver in step 1, which passes it on to a second step, which looks for behavior familiar to the system based on the previous training of what a distracted driver's hand position is, a thumb over the top of a phone, something being held in the hand, the position of the head. Many factors are being looked at. It's not object detection, where we're just detecting the phone itself. We're looking for the behavior of the driver itself. Yes, the steep shot is about 45 degrees, and typically you can see from about the top of the chest, just below the chin down. The shallow shot, there are times where you can see the face of the driver, depending on, to be honest, a lot of people are looking at the system in the camera, and when they do that, there is a possibility of seeing the driver's face, but we do not provide that information and send that through. It's only used for reviewing to find out if there's an event, and then once that information is captured and tabulated, it's deleted off of the system after that count has occurred.
How reliable is it? So, we've heard the complaints about photo radars. With this, is there a chance that it could pick something up where someone maybe just touches their smart screen? Because that's a lot of the new cars have that. Or is it pretty good that it won't detect something?
It is very accurate, but there are false positives, and that is the reason we have human review involved, to where 100% of the images that are captured are reviewed by trained individuals who are trained to determine whether or not the criteria is met for the University of Alberta to determine that a distracted driving event has occurred, and only those are counted.
Looking broader than Edmonton, I'm wondering if you can tell us, is there anywhere that this would be used, for actual use, not just for local use?
Absolutely. We have a number of contracts in Australia, which is where our parent company is. I'm out of the U.S., so AccuSensus Inc. is a U.S.-based company. Our parent company is in Australia. We have multiple contracts in Australia with state governments issuing citations in using the same technology and the same methods of AI detection, human review, and then police officer issuance, and then tickets through the mail.
Has it ever been tested? I mean, we're testing it in September. Has it ever been tested in winter as well, or for maybe an Alberta winter?
Not in an Alberta winter. It's very unique up here, but we're looking forward to the challenge and the opportunity to do that. And we're highly confident that our system will work and weather the storm, so to speak. There are a number of methods that can be used for both heat and cool. To be honest, it is much easier to warm up a system and get its operating temperature than it is to cool it down in Arizona where I live. So.
What's the turnaround time with this? Because obviously there's a lot of moving pieces to get that data. So what's the turnaround?
Turnaround time for processing.
Essentially getting all the data. I mean, it could, if it has great accuracy, then one day we could be paying people to do it, and that could be a lot of overhead. So you collect the data for one vehicle going by. When will you kind of know
it would take the data could be processed in near real time. So as soon as the data and information is available, a human can process it, but not until the end of the project will all that data be tabulated and provided to the University of Alberta.
But in Australia, where it is being used, what would be the turnaround for this type of technology?
Australia specifically, what we do there is detect using AI, send it through for review. We've got 48 hours to do that review process, and then send that to the police administration who issues the citation. So we're turning it around in 48 hours.
In your opinion, how is this different from photo radar and better?
I've always struggled with the definition of photo radar being speed radar. Speed radar is autonomous and it's relying on proper certification and confidence that system is detecting information properly. With distracted driving, you can see the evidence in the photo. There's no disputing. It's not like a speeding ticket where you have to determine whether or not the system is working properly. It's pretty obvious that the system is working properly for distracted driving when you can see somebody's phone in their hand. So hopefully that is.
What are the feedback from those countries who tested that technology? What are the feedback? What was the result?
The feedback from the countries that are using our product.
Yeah.
So in Australia, the reduction in traffic fatalities has dropped dramatically. In the states that incorporate our system, they attribute that directly to media providing information to the public about the dangers of distracted driving and the fact that people are getting repercussions for their actions. So they're very excited about it, to the point of the word of mouth getting around to where others statewide are getting on board with wanting to get programs in their areas. There is a grassroots effort by a lot of citizens to get a distracted driving problem resolved in their community by using our technology.
So is it fair to say that your technology has reduced distracted driving?
Absolutely. We're highly confident in that.
Do the sensors track traffic as it's traveling or only when it's coming to the center?
As it's traveling.
AI is always learning, but it sounds like Edmonton's getting this near the end. It's already pretty established, the AI. Is that fair to say?
In the big picture of AI, I would say no. We're just at the beginning of what AI is going to be able to do. For example, we've got millions of data points for distracted driving with electronic devices in our hands, but AI can also be used to detect whether or not somebody's wearing a seatbelt, whether or not there are multiple people in a vehicle for HOV, whether or not somebody potentially is even impaired while they're driving, based on posture, based on how the vehicles are transitioning through the motorway. So I think we're just at the cutting edge, the beginning of the AI, the beginning of the
Why is Edmonton a good fit for technology? Maybe we have bad distracted driving here, or how do we end up on your radar?
Really, because the University of Alberta is taking the lead to address the potential for technology and sees the value in educating the local community on the potentials of distracted driving, and really it's about Kareem and his team being willing to take the first step to put himself out there as a leader in the distracted driving prevalence data collection. This is the first time in Canada.
If let's say this study led to a contract and you were able to provide this,
Sure.
would you name one of them, any number of them for a city Edmonton size?
It would depend on the contract, how often they wanted it to move, how many sites, how many locations. There's a number of different factors that would be involved.
Do you have a contract in the city comparable size to Edmonton?
In North America, no, sir. In Australia, we have similar size contracts. We would have about six to 10 mobile units and maybe a dozen or so fixed sites of a similar size.
What's a unit worth? What are these mobile units?
Well, we won't get into the pricing side of things. What's a life worth is what the way we like to see it. What is a human life worth? Right?
That said, I mean, at the end of the day, funding's funding, and I think for a city, if this ends up being fantastic, like, people want to know what it's going to cost them, because it's probably not enough money out of the pocket. So to do a full project, let's say you did bring it to the city permanently, ballpark, what are we looking at it costing the city essentially?
It depends on the contract, the service, who's doing what type of work. There are a lot of factors involved, and this isn't a sales presentation, so we don't want to get into the sales side of things. So, great question, man.
So did the University of Alberta come to you folks?
We actually met at a ITS conference, I think it was, with the University of Alberta when we were doing a presentation on technology, and they approached us and asked us some questions, and we formed a relationship.
So from there, the University of Alberta reached out to the EPS.
Yeah, so we had, through the grant, we were able to connect with EPS and present this opportunity. And
This is the machine here, people. This will be set up on Argyle Road and 79th Street for the next week, and then it'll be placed in different locations in Edmonton for 1 week periods for the next 3 weeks.